Hi, everybody. Well, it's a pleasure to speak with you all today. I know that time is a little limited, so I'm going to start with a story. Today, LinkedIn is the #1 talent acquisition platform, followed by Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, and a whole host of others. What we have decided to do is do an all-out assault on talent acquisition as it is known today. We're doing it on both sides of the marketplace, and we're doing it in a Web3 decentralized infrastructure. We are a use case for Web3 that no one's ever seen before, no one's ever done before. We're not being chased, and we're not chasing anybody. These are important things to keep in mind because we're building a company and a software platform. We're not just trying to get something out for the bull market. We've been around for 3 years, building, architecting, validating, talking to organizations, talking to clients, getting partners in place to do something that we all believe has potential for outside of Web3 implications that are far bigger than the Web3 implications inside. We're a decentralized data marketplace, elegantly, where people can download an iOS or Android app, store their information, it encrypts it, stores it decentrally, and creates that and puts that person into a state that they've never been before most of the time, which is being a Web3 user. So like my mom can download the Android or iOS app today, make a profile, store her information, and be ready to receive data requests. Organizations will query this database and say, hey, who on this platform is a fit for my job? Users will share their information with that person and in real time get paid for it, and real time have their data unlocked and shown to the organization. And so this is a very easy way for people to store their information and put it to work. And if you think about LinkedIn today, what do we have with LinkedIn? We have a platform where we give them all of our information. We don't know who's looking at us. We don't know what jobs they're looking at us for. We don't know what jobs we were passed up on. And for the privilege of our information being shared with that organization, we see the organization pays LinkedIn, right? We don't see a dime of the data, the value that our data fuels. LinkedIn is about a $10 to $15 billion yearly organization revenue, and that's 100% built off the backs of our data. And people have had to give up our data for years. Like, it is kind of the natural progression of things, right? The Internet 1.0 was clunky and was only used by like universities and government agencies. Internet 2.0 came along and it said, hey, let's make those user interfaces and value that people can now, at their home, at their fingertips get from. And the cost for using these services was you had to give them your data. They had to learn everything about you, and then they resold it, repackaged it, and refined their advertising models to engage with you in new and different ways in order for you to utilize all these services. MyStandard is an assault on that entire model because we create a marketplace that gives both parties the autonomy to decide if they're a fit for one another before there's a connection made. And then we incentivize people to connect with organizations by providing a token incentive, but we don't force them to. If someone wants to stay anonymous and not engage with an organization, they can say no. And the power to say no is something we just don't have today. And so MyStandard is aiming to disrupt talent acquisition by giving candidates like incentives to engage by themselves directly to organizations and store their information with themselves, not with us or not with a third party. And then organizations are actually going to be able to query this database and only pay for what they get, and instantly receive information from candidates who are interested in engaging. And this opens up all sorts of different use cases and models. But that's a quote from someone who actually read our white paper and messaged me. And he said, "This is literally an all-out assault on talent acquisition." And I love those lines because I do believe that that's what we're doing. So I'm Adam Zec. I'm the CEO and co-founder of MyStandard. I was actually not like a blockchain native person. I probably got into blockchain about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know. Maybe that makes me an OG in the space. I feel aged from it, that's for sure. But for 14 years, I did talent acquisition consulting with Fortune 50 companies. So I would sit with them, listen to what their problems are in the space, and help them triage and solve them. A multitude of problems. And this allowed me to have an incredible network of organizations that are going to be utilizing our token in the early days to engage with people. So how does this work? For those of you who are not involved in talent acquisition, I'll first kind of give you an idea why hiring is so broken. Because I want to start with we're a non-Web3 use case, right? We're building for something that's not going to live and die within the walls of Web3. It's going to outlive this space. And so we needed to disrupt this marketplace, and this has happened naturally. Hiring is broken because the current tools miss key populations of candidates. simply put, like if you're a truck driver, the number one most sought after role in the United States, you're driving your truck. You don't have time to make a LinkedIn profile, nor is it the really appropriate space for you. And you're not going to go on Indeed or Monster and try to find a new job. It's really hard to engage with certain types of talent because of how busy we are. So MyStandard is an app you sign up for, and then we find you, right? We're connecting you with opportunities. We are not the app you use to find a job. We are the app used to never miss out on a better job, to never miss out on a shorter commute, to never miss out on a better title or better pay. And that's going to be our go-to-market brand when we launch. Hiring is very expensive. So even though companies in the Fortune 500 are spending on average $4.5 million on infrastructure, teams, and tools, they still have to spend 60% more than that on staffing agencies. And staffing agencies deliver high fidelity data with speed, which is literally what MyStandard is aiming to do. So we are going to be delivering the data and fidelity and speed of a staffing agency, but at the price point closer to LinkedIn, which is a sweet spot that has never been touched in this market. And the data that they're paying for today is often incomplete and unverified. MyStandard has multiple mechanisms and token incentives for verification of your data that will make people's profiles stronger over time while properly incentivizing their use of the platform and the use of the authenticators in the platform as well. Here's our vision. So it's kind of two sides. An equitable job discovery for all candidates. We use zero-knowledge proofs to match people with organizations. And what that allows us to do is abstract all the things from the job search process that would induce bias. Right? Humans are biased creatures. We cannot say we're not biased. We cannot hide our bias. There's no tech-forward way to help recruiters and hiring managers reduce their bias in the process. They always see your name. They always see your face. They always see where you came from. And those things will make people say, because of their bias, not engage with a job seeker about an opportunity that they would have been a fit for. Those things then equal lawsuit. And organizations are constantly looking, and this is actually the inception of MyStandard, is because I was helping Johnson & Johnson with an EEOC issue where their hiring managers were weeding out candidates because of bias that were fit for roles, and they were being sued for it. And that was actually one of the first things that started this company. And so we're an equitable job discovery for all candidates because they're being matched in privacy. The organizations only see a number. How many people are on the platform that are a fit for my open position? They engage with those people, and after those people agree to share their information, then the hiring manager will see things like their name, their face, etc. They're more like rich profile information. We're not inventing something new here. This is why dating apps have become popular. The dating app scene flourished once they figured out a way to make it so that nobody ever feels a strong sense of rejection. Because who would use an app where you're constantly reaching out to people and getting rejected? Like we would stop using that entire industry. But they figured out the formula of how to make two parties essentially say yes in privacy and then make the connection once they both do. And that's what MyStandard is aiming to do for job search. So we are an everyday practical use for blockchain. We are on the front. In order for a person to use the platform, they are going to join the MyStandard network. They are going to make a quick profile and register themselves, and then they can receive job data requests. In order for corporations to use this information and access this information, they have to acquire our token, which we will actually facilitate on their behalf. We put that token into a Fireblocks custodied wallet, and then they use the token in the platform in order to engage with candidates. So there's direct tokens buy pressure from organizations to utilize our platform. So when you're thinking about the ramifications of this from a Web3 perspective, there's $130 billion of yearly spend just in talent acquisition, which is our first use case. We're aiming to disrupt over $1 trillion of global data of data middlemen, but $130 billion just in talent acquisition, where we have strong connections and clients to start off. That would be yearly. So that would be, let's say we disrupt 5% of the market. Right, so that would be $5 billion of consistent sales pressure on our token. That token cannot be sold once it's purchased. It is custodied by us and used in the platform, which is something the SEC has told us they really like about this model. And the implications of this from a crypto perspective is there's a crypto token that's being utilized by corporations real time, constantly and always, that has a direct utility for people and for corporations. So it kind of changes the game on what tokens can be, because the token is going to be this carrot that we offer candidates to interact with organizations. It's a carrot we offer organizations to validate information on people. It's a carrot we offer organizations in order to have some governance on where we spend our marketing, what types of candidates we go after. For candidates, it'll be a governance tool to be able to have them vote on where do we do our philanthropy? What are some of the UI UX implications for the month? What are some features they would like to see? So we're using this token constantly in this platform to increase the amount of interaction between people, us, and corporations in this sort of triangle that kind of goes back and forth. And it's just something that really hasn't been done in this space before. I would like to also talk about a few key differentiators between us and the industry we're disrupting. So staffing agencies, talent acquisition places, there's no financial incentive for people to respond, right? I get LinkedIn emails all the time. I don't respond to any of them. For me, it's very easy to say no because there's no incentive to say yes. So with MyStandard, the notification will say, IBM is interested in your data. You have 1 hour to respond. And you also see how many people are they reaching out to and how fast is that bucket filling. The sense of urgency and FOMO this will create in candidates is pretty high. Passive candidates are what organizations need to have a way to connect with, and all the tools today completely miss the mark on getting somebody who's happy in their job to respond to an opportunity. MyStandard aims to disrupt that point with the incentive structure we're putting into place. We're creating relationships, not just like sending profiles and database and resumes to people. We're aiming to be the fastest time per hire in the industry. That is the number one metric that recruiters are measured on. If they can fill roles quickly, they look great. Cost per hire is number 2. Our price point is slightly higher than LinkedIn, but extremely low compared to like a staffing agency or any of those types of staffing. I can open up to questions. We have an AI integration that we're going to be putting into place with generative AI so that organizations have a text box they can enter, tell us what to describe the project. It'll make recommendations on the types of talent they need. It'll connect them with the talent automatically. It'll write the job descriptions for them if they have to. And so there's all these sort of integrations and pieces we could put into place. There's obviously a million things to uncover here, but I can open up to some questions, and obviously we can always talk additionally offline. And last thing I want to state is our white paper was just released, our newest white paper. We have our second version of it, and it literally goes through everything in extreme detail. So if you like to be kind of indoctrinated in all the things we're doing and kind of start to unpack the layer of the onions, that would be a great place to start. And I can obviously share a link to that. I guess you wanted me to kind of start doing some Q&A, right?